Welcome to Team Wild Academy. As a master slaughterman of Team Wild, the knife is a very important part of my job. Whether it be dressing, skinning or butchery, a good knife is the key to getting the job done right. Hopefully you've seen our recent video on the kit sent to us by the Untitled Knife Company, and you've seen what sort of a stress a blade can be put under. If you haven't, click to the link now. For fieldcraft and butchery, it's vital that you choose the right knife for the job, but it's also essential that you take care of the blade and keep it sharp. A blunt knife can lead to mistakes. Applying too much pressure can make you lose control of the knife, and a blunt knife will cut you a lot worse than a sharp knife. A good knife needs a good sharp point, a nice strong edge, and in this episode we're going to show you how to achieve that. I always use a traditional sharpening stone. You can get two variants. You can get an oil stone, which this is, or a wet stone. The difference being, one you put oil on, the other one you put water on. This is an oil stone. The oil just helps the knife grip the stone and helps sharpen the edge. Okay, as you can see, we've put the stone just on a bit of mutton cloth there. Stop it slipping about so it's nice and rigid. I'm just going to put a bit of oil on the top. Tip it into the cap so you've got control over just a little drop in the middle of the stone. Just work it right the way into the four corners. Okay, we're going to start by starting at one edge of the stone, starting at the point and rubbing right across, trying to use the whole of the stone so you don't bevel it. On the point, you can hear the knife gripping on the stone as it goes. Try and do 8 on one side of the knife, turn the knife over and do 8 the other way. This way you're sharpening each side of the knife in equal parts, and then turn it over and again. Okay, this is the Seneca model from the Ontario Knife Company. I'd say this is more of a multi-purpose knife. You can see it's got a shoulder which runs right the way across the middle of the blade, near enough, perhaps not quite the middle. But this means that the blade from the shoulder angles down into the sharpest part. So when you're sharpening it, you hold it at a bit of an angle like that, which helps you get the edge onto the blade. Whereas the Cayuga is an ideal skinning knife. It's completely flat, it has no shoulder, which is a good skinning knife. So when you're sharpening this one, instead of holding it at an angle, you hold it completely flat on the stone and sharpen it like so. That means that the blade is always going to be thinner, it's going to be a lot more of a fragile edge, whereas the Seneca has got more of a pronounced V to the edge of the blade. It's a stronger edge, if you like, and not such a fine edge as on the skinning knife, making the knife a lot more durable and less likely to chip and buckle. Now we've worked the heart of the knife, what we're going to do is finish off by just paying a little bit more attention to the point of the knife. We always try and take care of the point of the knife, more attention on here. When you're working in the field, dressing animals and such like, if you've got a broken edge or a rough edge on the point, it can catch, it can foul, it can snag. Yet again, if it's blunt, you can be putting too much pressure onto the animal, go in, burst a gut, intestine, things like that. So just a bit more care and attention just to get it just right is worth its weight in gold, really. Although you've been working on the stone to create the edge, it's abrasive action all the time. So the edge of your knife will still have little bits of metal on there. It won't be totally smooth. So that's why you use a steel. And it's most important when you're using the steel that you try and use the same angle as you used on the stone as on the steel. So you're drawing it at the correct angle, which will then remove all the little micro bits of metal that you've been working and create a smoother edge and a sharper edge that won't drag and it won't catch. So the same thing applies with your skinning knife, which is sharpened flatter. You want to steel it flatter because that's the edge you've been working. So you hold it flatter on the steel, like so. You can hear the difference in sound That's because of the shoulder of that knife makes that knife sound completely different to this knife, because it's a flatter, thinner blade. Okay, my top tip is always make sure your equipment's nice and clean, especially your stone. If you've got a fat residue on there or anything else, your knife isn't gripping the stone like it should do, or you've got fat at one end and the other end clean, you'll be sharpening one end and not the other. Won't be making the right contact. Then you're transferring the fat onto the blade and onto the steel and vice versa. So make sure everything's clean, because it is an abrasive process, and if you've got fat on there and everything else, it won't be just doing the job quite right. Okay, that's how Wildy sharpens his knives. To get your best results in the field, whether it be dressing, doing your fieldcraft, your bushcraft, anything else, that's the way we'd do it. Tune in next week to Team Wild's Academy to see part 2 of Simon Barr's reloading series. Subscribe to Team Wild TV for the best hunting, gear and tutorial videos on YouTube.